Hi, I'm Ursula with Gannon's Antiques and Art in Fort Myers, Florida. Today we got in some really exciting items, and they come in the form of old ephemera, it's called, old newspapers and a neat book. And I'm going to show you the first one here is from the Civil War. It's the Greensboro Patriot, as you can see up top, and it's from North Carolina. So this would be a Confederate, a Southern paper. It's a newspaper, and what's really neat about it is that they're talking about the blockade at Charleston, and that's the major feature of this newspaper, which is 2 pages full front to back, so it would be like 4 total pages, but and it's all one big sheet. It's very delicate. It's over 150 years old, and it's coming apart. It's still intact. The whole thing is still intact, but it's starting to split at the seams. It would be neat to frame, and it's really neat to read. That's the great thing, because you are reading the history as it's unfolding and getting their perspective of what that history is. So I think that is really special, and it's a historical account. Another set of papers I got right here. Now these are from Philadelphia, and these are from 1796. So this would be not much later than after the Constitution was ratified and before the Bill of Rights were even accepted. And what is very interesting about this, if you read up at the top, these were printed by Benjamin Franklin Bach. So he was the grandson of the Benjamin Franklin that we know of, and he was the one who he was willed Benjamin Franklin's printing presses, so he received all of them. So these would have been printed right on Benjamin Franklin's printing press. I think Benjamin Franklin died in 1790, and these are from 1796. And to read it, it's really interesting. If you would like to see, for example, they are advertising here, "The public are respectfully informed that the elephant is to be seen every day from 8 o'clock in the morning until sundown." That's one thing. Another, maybe more historically interesting piece would be Thomas Payne to give George Washington. This day is published, a letter from Thomas Payne to George Washington. And if you wanted to go to their offices, you could buy a copy of that letter. That's really interesting to me. They have advertisements for tailors, for portrait artists. If you're into art history, that might be an interesting thing. They even have venereal disease. And let's see how they like to word this. "A moderate fee in hand is expected from every gentleman, as delicacy in the subject precludes all inquiry." So I think that's interesting. They're also even advertising for a slave. They have here a ball where Mr. Sicard respectfully informs those ladies who may please to honor him with their attendance. And then it goes on. So it's great to hear just how they write it and the words that they use, plus what they're advertising for. And these, I have 3 different pages. This one was December 26, 1796, so it would have been the day after Christmas. This one is July 14th, just a week or so after 4th of July. And then there's another one from December 31st, I think. Yep, so the last day of the month, 1796, or all 1796. This one I would say is in the best condition, although it's missing the back page. It's really interesting. Oh, this is something else. I mean, every single piece of this to me is interesting. This is Philadelphia. Now, 1796 was when they had their, I would say, sort of like their first presidential race, because it was after George Washington had done his 3 terms, and so now he wasn't going to run again. And so they have the results for the elections, returns of votes for president and vice president, and they have Adams and the other people who ran, including Burr and what you could read it, Jefferson. And then they have all the states and how many each candidate got as far as votes. And then an article to go along with it. So even though it's not complete, this is over 200 years old, and it is, whatever it does have is interesting. This one is one full page, and the second page is unattached, and again, not complete, but equally interesting. Here's a Washington Canal lottery where they were actually advertising a lottery so that they could raise money to build a canal in Washington. It's all really historically interesting. And then this one is probably in the worst condition. So I'm just going to sell them all as a lot, but they all have interesting historical information, and they were done by Benjamin Franklin's grandson, who went to Europe with him and who was trained by Benjamin Franklin and had his printing presses. I have one more thing to show you, and this is a book, and this is a really cool book too. This is a big leather-bound book from the early 1700s. This is somewhere close to 300 years old. It's not yet 300 years old, but it's somewhere close to it. I don't have the page that has the publishing date, but let me show it to you. Firstly, it's even though the binding isn't all intact, it's really neat to see how they bound it with these rope cords going across. I thought that was really neat, just to see the book. And the book is still intact. It's still attached and all that, and it's the history of the rise and progress of the Christian people called Quakers. Okay, so this is the book they have. Here's an old book tag from 1865, so that would have been right as the Civil War ended, that somebody had this book. But this book goes from 1415. In the back it goes to 1717. That's the last, here's 1716, 1717, and that's the final date. So this was printed somewhere, I would say just after 717, and then there's an addendum in the back, and there's an index. The index only goes to N, so it is missing a few pages, but regardless, this is an amazingly incredible book. If you like religious history, to have it of the Quakers from the 1400s to 1700s, written sometime in the 1700s. And that's everything I have for you. If you've got other things that you'd like to look at that are of great interest, we have all sorts of videos, and we have our website that you can see what else we have. And if you're looking to sell anything, I'd certainly be happy to know about it.